One can hardly imagine a less dignified way to die.
You can do all the research you like, and you're just not going to find cases where people drown in a toilet. It's just not a very common occurrence.
And yet, that's exactly how Tracy Cusick's husband says he found his wife, on all fours, face down in the family commode. There was no question she drowned, but coroners couldn't determine if it was accidental or something worse.
Because we hadn't, at that point, found any answers. We hadn't brought together any experts that were able to show us what happened.
But almost 2 years after Tracy was laid in the ground, new details were about to emerge. After giving the case a second look, newly assigned Sergeant of Investigations David Galandri decided more needed to be done.
Dave Galandri was such a godsend. I mean, because he came over and he said, "I'd like to talk about your sister's case." And my mom came home and I said, "Mom, they're gonna open Tracy's case up again." She cried.
But where to begin the investigation? Cops had no playbook for this one.
There are virtually no other investigations in the United States of people drowning accidentally or even committing suicide in toilets. It's unheard of.
Well, not exactly. Roughly 10 years before, in northern Wisconsin, a woman named Janelle Flood was also found drowned in her toilet. Her husband was ultimately convicted of murder. The story was later covered by a true crime show, which County Coroner Jody Bernard just happened to be watching around the time Galandri came calling.
It was almost like an aha moment for you.
It was an aha moment that we could actually find the people we needed to provide the evidence and the answers that we were looking for.
After that, Ottawa authorities began reaching out to the same experts who appeared on the show. Special consultants, a veteran pathologist, even a forensic plumbing engineer. Before long, Galandri and his team had everything they needed to work Tracy's case.
One of the things that we did was we purchased the same type of toilet that was documented in the photographs of the scene, and we filled that toilet. I've learned more than I care to know about toilets.
I'm sure.
And a toilet holds only so much water. So what we did is we recreated the scene of the bathroom where she was found deceased.
One of the mysteries the team hoped to solve was how a series of unusual bruises got on Tracy's head and neck. But before they even got that far,
we tried to duplicate first a situation where a person could, on their own, submerge their nose and mouth in the water of a toilet bowl. We were not able to duplicate a circumstance where that was possible at all.
Period.
Period.
So then, how did Tracy's face end up submerged? Investigators believe the bruises on her body explain that.
There are pictures that we can't share with our viewers,
Correct.
but you wanted me to get an understanding of when you talk about what the findings are, you wanted me to get a visual understanding of what you found and why this was impossible.
Correct.
Of particular concern was a small abrasion under Tracy's chin.
The injury to her chin was interesting. The forensic plumbing engineer had described that when an individual is in that position and they cannot raise their head, their instinct is to back up. And what happens when you back up, your chin gets caught under the rim and there's an abrasion.
And that wasn't Tracy's only telltale mark.
The injuries to the throat area.
That injury is indicative from the rim of the toilet and pressure forcing her neck onto that rim.
And then there was also deep tissue bruising to the back of her neck.
Correct.
What does that say, Jody?
That says somebody was holding her head down at that point.
And Jody was even able to show our own Andrea Isom how easy that would have been.
That's not even enough pressure to leave bruising on your neck. And as you can tell, it was impossible for you to
lift. I couldn't do it.
Right.
And just if I was on all fours,
even more difficult.
impossible.
Absolutely impossible.
It was all painting a very grim picture, but there were still some marks that couldn't be explained. Those tiny diamond-shaped cuts on Tracy's forehead.
From that recreation, we actually got into a position where we felt like we needed to exhume the body. and examine these injuries more closely.
It was a drastic move, but Tracy's family needed answers, and soon they'd have some.
There's something significant about your sister's wedding ring.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
She had the exact print of her wedding rings on her forehead.
To investigators, it was the final piece to the puzzle.
If someone was forcing her into the bowl of the toilet, if she put her hand in front of her face, then she would have been forced to have contact against that wedding ring. The pathologist matched that ring with the mark on her forehead.
Captain, it looks like you're saying to me that possibly Tracy was trying to defend herself.
I think that's the reason, yes.
A conclusion shared by the team.
She was definitely trying to get herself out of that situation.
But to really prove it, they would have to make their case to a special jury of coroners charged with making the final determination as to the manner of death.
When we held the coroner's inquest, I was the only witness that testified, so I testified generally to all of the compiled facts that we found in the investigation. I testified to a nutshell version of this investigation.
After that, the jury deliberated, but with a case so complicated, everyone knew it could be hours, even days before they got a ruling.
About 10, 12 minutes later, they walked back and called this case a homicide.
Finally, you got what you knew was
the truth.
the truth.
Yeah, homicide. She was murdered. I thought, oh, thank God. Finally, something's gonna happen.
But there was still one very big question left to answer, the biggest one of all.
Who do you think murdered your sister?
Coming up.
There were only 3 other people in the home when this happened.
That's correct.
If Tracy Cusick was murdered, just who is the killer?
I'm Andrea Eisen with Crime Watch Daily.